So we just went to the station to put all our luggage. Dennis is driving. You can't see him for the light, but yeah, he's driving. So now we are going to confront our boss
in 20 minutes.
In 20 minutes, yeah, and we've cleared out the apartments in case we will quit. So we will just give him the keys and say, well, sorry, but fuck you, and we will be leaving. And things right now are pretty fucked.
Things right now are pretty fucked.
Yeah.
The contract, we have two contracts. We have a work contract and we have a contract for the apartment. And when he talked to me, he told me that when we arrived, we would have to pay what is known as key money. Key money is basically money you give in Japan to the landlord, so as to get the key, and it's money you're never gonna see again. But he told me that up front, and the amount was relatively low, and I was okay with that. And I'm the type of person who, if you just give it to me straight, then I can say yes or no, and that's awesome. And the key money was the same as 1 month's rent, and so I didn't care. I was like, okay, whatever, it's yen, I can deal with it. But now the situation is that there is a clause in our apartment contract, and please feel free to jump in at any time, but there's a clause in our apartment contract which says that if we leave the apartment before our contract is concluded, that is before 1 full year, we have to pay 150,000 yen, which is a bit over 7,000 kroner.
1,000 euros, I think.
Yeah. Around 1,000 euro, yeah, maybe. Yeah, around 1,000 euro. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And our reaction to that is, we are not going to pay that.
And we are not going to pay it because the employee who most recently left the job and who had the same full-time employment as we do right now, she didn't pay anything when she left. And that's the major reason why we are obviously absolutely not going to pay this ridiculous sum of money for leaving an apartment early. And we know that the whole English teacher industry in Japan is very mobile because many jobs suck. Mm-hmm. So people move around a lot. There's this notion apparently that English teachers are kind of disposable employees. Mm-hmm. So many workplaces take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. And obviously he is running one of those workplaces.
And so we are not going to pay this. And the reason why we have this blog now and why we are fucked right now is because we are going to confront him tomorrow, and we are going to say to him that we are not going to pay this amount of money. And we've confronted him earlier because we've actually already handed in our resignation, and all the previous employees, we found out they just ran away from him. But they fled. They literally fled from him. But he had been really nice to us, and we wanted to repay that kindness and tell him in person, and he took that really well. He was like, oh, okay, I'm glad that you're coming to me in person and telling me this, and okay, I'll still sponsor you guys, sponsor your visa, and I'll look for new employees, and when I get new employees, you can go. And now he's coming with this shit about the 150,000 yen that we have to pay, which, as Dennis mentioned before, our former colleague didn't pay. And we've also found out that these apartments that we are living in, there are 3 apartments, and he says there's a landlord, but we kind of suspect that he owns these apartments, also because the apartments are identical.
It's just, copy-pasted.
Yes.
Apartments, they're exactly the same.
But the rent varies from employee to employee.
Yes.
Like our friend who left, she paid less rent than us, and we know that a former colleague paid way more less rent than us. But they also got less paid. But it's still a kind of funny system, because if there was a landlord, the rent would probably be the same. So he probably owns these apartments and pretends there's a landlord, and he's probably, maybe he doesn't own them but rent them each month to a very low price, and then he takes advantage of us and rents them to us even more expensive. So it's a source of income to him. Either way, we are going to confront him tomorrow, and I think the situation is that. Yeah.
Well, the situation is fucked because right now the visa process is, well, it's underway, and we don't have the work visa right now. And without the work visa, we only have 2 legal months left in Japan, and we don't know what happens if we start the work visa process while employed at some other company. Maybe they don't care and they'll just process it, and everything is fine. But maybe since the process has started, there'll be some kind of roadblock or wall. We don't know. And the other problem is that our job is connected to the apartment and vice versa. So if you go tomorrow and tell him, oh hey, remember all that money you think you're getting? Fuck that. And he says to us, well, fuck you guys, and we say that back. Obviously it's not gonna happen like that. We're gonna be civil and friendly. But you know, that's essentially it, right? We're gonna say your money, fuck that, and he's maybe gonna be angry. And if he reacts really negatively, which is, you know, our guess, because it's a lot of money, we are going to leave immediately, which leaves us without a place to live, and without a job, and so far without a work visa, and probably
a pissed off boss.
Yes. And we tried reaching out to some of the former employees who've been through a lot of this shit themselves, and one or two of them were so
scared they didn't want to talk to us. Right. Hello YouTube. Hello. So we we quit our job. The conversation with our employee didn't go that well. Employer, sorry. He was like, okay, there's no way in hell that you are not going to pay this money. And then we were like, okay, well then we quit. So yeah, so now we are without apartment and without job.
And without a work visa.
So back to square one.
Yes, and he was very, very, very passive aggressive, and obviously not very good at managing conflicts.
No.
And apparently he preferred to lose 2 full-time employees instead of negotiating anything. Yeah. It went really quickly from, oh hey, we need to discuss this thing too. Okay, we quit.
Yeah.
It was really quick actually, which I suppose is some kind of relief.
Yeah.
So right now we feel kind of good about not having to go there ever again. I'm not gonna miss him or this place. But I think in a few days we're gonna start to worry because of the whole visa situation.
Yeah. And he was like, he threatened to call the police or something if we didn't clean our apartments. That's kind of strange thing.
If we didn't clean the apartment, apparently there's some apartment cleaning police that he's really good friends with, and then they would come in and get us.
But of course we went and cleaned the apartment and so on, and we've just delivered our keys, and now we are at a Moon restaurant where we're going to have nice dinner and celebrate. And then our friend will come and get us, and we will stay with her for a couple of days and figure out what to do next.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, we will elaborate later, but yeah, stay tuned. Okay, well, hello everyone. So today is 2 days after we quit. 2 days or what?
Yeah, it's been 2 days now.
2 days, yeah. And the situation right now is that we are staying with our friend, and we are staying here for. Right now, the plan is we are going to stay here for a week. And find out what to do, apply for jobs and so on.
We are in Oyama City, which is around an hour drive away from Utsunomiya, where we used to work and live.
Yeah. So what we want to do now is we want to tell you what really happened when we confronted our boss, how it went down. And I think it started with, you know the situation, we've explained it. So we had the meeting with him, and Dennis opened up the meeting, very nice and very polite, and we were saying, okay, we have a friend or a former colleague. We know she didn't pay that fee, so we hope that you could find it in your mind not to make us pay that fee. Like really polite, and I remember that he was like really listening, and he wrote up what we were saying, and then he was like, "Oh, is that it?" And we were like, "Yeah, that's it." And I was like, "Okay, that's good." For a brief moment there, I was actually like thinking, "Okay, he may go through." And then he said, "No," and he wrote "no" in his notebook with 2 exclamation marks.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, 1 exclamation mark, we could have dealt with that, but 2 exclamation marks, that's the point of no
That's
return
the
right
point
there.
of no return.
And it was very deliberate framing from our side to
Yeah.
ask him, if there was any way of him kind of forgetting about the 150, because we know without any doubt that we were not going to pay it, but we thought, we were going to start with being really polite and respectful, and if he showed a willingness to negotiate and communicate, then we could take it from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, as Kalle said, I kind of opened up the meeting, but it really quickly turned into the 2 exclamation points, marks. And so basically Kalle, he took over the meeting and said, when it was apparent that we wouldn't get anywhere as far as the money was concerned, he said, "All right, Lucas, what you're saying sounds fishy, and so we quit. That's it, we quit. This is over."
Yeah. And then he was like, "Okay, then give me your keys." And we gave him our keys. And when I'm thinking about it right now, I actually think he got a little surprised by that. Maybe he expected us to be like, "Oh, we don't want to give you our keys" or something. Because the next moment we gave him our keys, and then I got up, like, because it was like, okay, it seems like he doesn't understand the situation. So I got up, went to go get my bags, and then he was like, "Oh, have you cleaned the apartments?" And we were like, "No, we haven't." And then he went mad, That was when we got the impression, okay, if we push him a bit more, he will break. Like, he was like, "You will clean those apartments or I will call the police."
Yeah, we talked about the apartment police in the last video, and he turned into this really irrational, super passive aggressive child.
Yeah.
And it was really obvious that he doesn't know how to handle conflicts at all.
No.
And what we kind of noticed, and what will always be part of the story, is that in his mind, and this is the totally fucked up part, in his mind he is the saint.
Yeah.
He is a friendly guy doing favors to everyone, and he can never understand anyone else's position. And that's why we told you guys about how previous employees fled and have been unhappy, and there's been consistent complaining about the scheduling, all this stuff. And he honest to God feels that people are out to get him.
Yeah.
And he can't see anything wrong with how he treats people at all. And then I said, he turned into this passive aggressive monster. And both Kel and I have got company cars, and on the company cars we have these really awful stickers with the name of the school. And on my car, apparently there's a sticker on the front and on both sides, and apparently on my car someday, I don't even know when, because it's the sticker, like, who notices the sticker, right? I don't. Apparently one day one of the stickers had flown off somehow. I don't know what fuck happened.
Probably the snow.
Yeah, we had some days of really hard frost and snow, and maybe the stickers were kind of shitty to begin with, but it fell off, right? And so he said, "Oh, Dennis, what happened to the sticker?" This was some weeks ago, and I said, "Oh shit, I don't know, like I hadn't even noticed." And at that point, a few weeks ago, when we were still on good terms, he said, "Oh, okay." He was a little frustrated, but he let it go, because we were doing work for him, and he didn't want to antagonize us, I guess. But then at the meeting, he brought up the fucking sticker again, the sticker on the car, and he said, "Because I'm such a nice guy, because I'm basically a Black Jesus, and because I'm doing you guys a favor, and I am not going to have you pay for this entirely irrelevant car sticker that blew off somehow."
And apparently, the last couple of weeks he has lying awake all night wondering, what happened to that sticker or something.
Dude, my sticker. This is the breaking point.
But I think he was like, you know, like when we said we quit, and then he was like, okay, give me your keys, and we were like, okay, here is your keys. So he needed to like to gain power or something, and I think it was just laughable because it was like, whoa, what the hell. And when he threatened us with the police, it wasn't like we got scared or anything. We were just thinking, okay, we might as well clean the apartments and then hope that we doesn't see or hear from him again, instead of like throwing all these things out.
Yeah, instead of turning it into a shit flinging contest, we figured, okay, if all we have to do is clean the apartment, which to be fair is a fair and reasonable request, and he will then be out of our life, then that's basically the best we could hope for. But it's funny, right? Because I feel like we try to be relatively reasonable and we are willing to compromise, which we did in the past. But it's so apparent that once he meets some resistance, he turns into basically a child. And if he can't get his way, he will, do the adult equivalent of knocking over your sandcastle that you just built, right? Anything he can do to kind of piss you off or make you angry or create some kind of roadblock in your life, he will do it. Not because it makes any sense for him, but just to be a dick.
Yeah. I think it's a way of him like showing that because he feels like we are manipulating him, he has to push back or something. I guess maybe we should like try to sum up what his defense was of our colleague not paying and we had to pay. He said that she didn't have to pay because he knew she would never be a full-time employee, even though she was a full-time employee when we were there. And he really shit-talked her and said, I never expected anything from her, and she was just there at the same right moment, and she didn't do anything good for this company and so on.
Yeah.
And it's ironic because he knows we are good friends with her. So it's like, okay, so now you're comforting us with the fact that you're shit-talking a previous employee. You are telling us how you used her and how you did everything, and it's like, oh, that's so comforting. Now we will go home and be safe and think, oh, he just used her. What a nice boss. I mean, I don't know what kind of way. And then we asked him because she actually paid less rent than us. So we asked him, why does she pay less rent than us? And then he said, well, because she earns less. But he also said there's a landlord. And then we said, yeah, but the landlord should not care about how much he earns. The rent should be the same because the apartments are identical, as we mentioned before. And then he said it was because he was nice. And then I said, well, if you wanted to be nice, why didn't you just give him more money in your salary?
Yeah.
And then it was like, no, I couldn't do that. And it didn't make sense at all. So we were just like, okay, fuck it. But maybe also to sum up, maybe this sounds a bit like we were the ones who screwed him, but he didn't pay us 1 month of salary, our first month working, which is 240,000 yen, and that equals to the 150,000 we weren't going to pay, and 55,000 for this month's rent. So we also got a bit screwed, but yeah.
Yeah, like depending on how you look at it, it somewhat evens out. But at the end of the day, financially we took a small hit, and I guess a little bit on the ego as well because things didn't really work out too well. But on the whole, it's good to be gone.
Yeah, it is. And I noticed before when I started working that some of his clients were complaining about he keeps switching teachers, and now we are gone, and we left in the middle of the day. We had classes after that, so we left in the middle of that day. So I think we heard him. And the funny thing is, we talked to our former colleague who told us that he had told her that he sacked us.
Yeah, apparently we were sacked.
Yeah, we were not good teachers, so he sacked us right away.
We were embarrassing him.
Yeah.
So a conversation that started with Kalle saying we quit turns into he sacked us.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this to Kalle just yesterday. I think the scary part is that in his mind he probably believes that himself.
Mm-hmm.
And that this relates to the thing with him always being the saint. And so you can deal with greedy assholes, right? But when they are delusional to this point, then it gets difficult and unpredictable.
Yeah. And some things we have discussed is the fact that should we mention the name of the school in this blog, because he might see it and then he might come after us if we mention it. There might happen some other kinds of shit, so it probably wouldn't be that good for us and our situation.
Yeah, we've deliberately kept names out of it.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Yeah, the name of the school is Happy Day English.
In Utsunomiya, Japan.
In Utsunomiya, Japan. Never come here.
I hope this helps to emphasize